On today's show, we'll have a primer on sports betting. We'll also look at some hot and cold players and decide if they are for real. SiriusXM's Jennifer Piacenti joins us next on Beat the Shift. And welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me as always is Ruvain Guy. What's going on, Ruvain?
Not much. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's been a little while. We had a little bit of a hiatus at the beginning of the baseball season. Sorry about that, folks. We had some holiday vacation, some family health issues. Nothing major, but it just precluded us from recording a couple times. Plus, I'm starting my softball playing, and I'm playing like a bunch of nights a week. Going well so far, so can't give that up, you know? How about you?
Yeah, and I'm driving my son back and forth to baseball practice at games. I'm actually missing a game tonight to be on the pod tonight. So it's a little bit, I prefer to be there, but, I've been to all the other games. I've been in the cold weather, so I'll let my wife go for the warmer weather game.
Yeah, same here. My kid is actually in the same league as your kid, different division. I think he's pitching this Sunday, so that'll be fun to watch as well. And our Mets, how about that? I mean, they lost today, last two games actually to Arizona, but what a start to the season for our first place Mets, huh?
Yeah, it's great because it's so weird, though, because everyone's complaining here in New York on the radio about how Juan Soto's doing nothing, even though they're winning. Okay, so Juan Soto hits 2 home runs now they're losing. Does that make things better?
Right. Well, if the Mets are doing this, and that's with Soto not even heating up, it could be only better from here. All right, we've got a great show today. We want to bring on from SiriusXM, Jennifer Piacenti. What's going on, Jen?
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me today.
Oh, our pleasure. And, before we go into stuff, the three of us are actually in a league together in GDD. How's that going? I think I'm a point up on you, and Ruvain is a point up on us or something like that.
Well, I got to tell you, we started strong. We were in first place, I think, until last week, and we've kind of had a bit of a free fall this week. Our pitching sort of fell apart. Our hitters didn't show up. So it's that fun time at the beginning of the season when you can, literally go from first to like 10th in 24 hours.
Well, yeah. I don't know what you consider fun. My team has had Kettle Marte, Dylan Moore, Luis Ariz, Zach Eflin, Ezekiel Tovar, Lane Thomas, Brandon Marsh, Justin Steele, Reynaldo Lopez, Jose Siri, Emmanuel Mugro all go on the IL in the first month.
Oh,
so,
wow.
We're really sorry for you, champion Ruvain.
Yes,
we're really
yes.
sorry. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I just checked the standings. I am officially in 5th place today.
Not bad.
Yeah, but we're hanging in there.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, we had Strider and Acuna and Woodruff, so our big boys are not really. I mean, Strider's just starting, and we even get Acuna and Woodruff, so we're trying to stay in the mid pack and trying to jump up as the season goes on. But it's a long season, and it's really tight. I think from first to like 10th place is like 10 points, so it's really, really, really tight. So today we're going to talk a little bit about betting, sports betting, which Ruben and I don't do too much about, but Jen Piacenti does, and we'd love to have you talk to our audience a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about prop betting, money lines, maybe some DFS and some terminology, and if you guys are interested in betting or you have, maybe you know some of it, maybe you don't, but pretty good small introduction. Well, what do you say, Jen?
Let's do it.
So let's talk a bit about, first of all, DFS. What is DFS? How do you do it? Where do you find that? And, who do you recommend it for?
So DFS is basically you find it at FanDuel and DraftKings. There are other sites that do it as well, but DFS stands, of course, for Daily Fantasy Sports. So this is where you get to pick a team for a day. And it kind of combines your season-long ideas into one day with a salary cap, if that makes sense. So you have a certain salary. Players are priced differently each day. You make sure that you assemble a team that stays under that salary cap, and there you go. And of course, they make the pricing so that you can only spend up for a few players at a time. So you decide, am I going to spend up for pitching today? Am I going to spend up for hitting today? You look at, the daily matchups, you look at the weather, you look at the park factors, and you just try to make the best lineup possible to score the most possible, right? Just like a regular fantasy sports. But unlike season-long fantasy sports, you can have those players that you didn't draft. You can have them for just one day as long as you're willing to spend for them. Now, you can play DFS in a couple different ways. You can play in cash games and you can play tournament style. And there's different strategies based on whether you're playing for cash or you're playing for a tournament. If you're playing for a tournament, you take more big swings, you take more long shots, you take someone that, for instance, like you say, I don't know, Alejandro Kirk's going to hit a home run today. He's only $3,200. I'm going to put him in my lineup, and that's not someone that a lot of other people are rostering. So you have an advantage in a tournament because you have a different lineup. When you're playing in cash games, you tend to do more of the safer floor players. But basically that's how it works. So DFS is for anybody that doesn't have legal sports betting in their state. And it's the only way that they can get that little adrenaline pop of being able to feel like they're invested in a player that isn't necessarily on their season-long fantasy team or in a game that's on that night.
Right. And, what resources would you use to help you prepare for DFS? Is there some good projections out there? ATC is not a daily projection system, but is there any good recommended one, or what do you use to help your decisions?
I don't actually use, I do it all myself. I am a super nerd, and I look at all kinds of different things the same way I do for my betting. So if I'm doing a DFS lineup, I use the same kind of ideas and theories that I'm guessing on with my betting, which isn't really guesses, right? They're stats, they're numbers, they're trends, they're things that make sense. But you can also get DFS optimizers, really great places. I know Rotoballer has one. I know Fantasy Alarm has one, and they will literally make recommendations for you. You have people at those sites that will write columns with recommendations, and then you have actual almost like AI, where you put in, hey, who does the optimizer suggest today? And they tell you, this pitcher is the best value. He's priced incorrectly. He's priced too low for the return you could get. So those places, Rotoballer, Fantasy Alarm, are probably two places that are good to look. I think RotoWire also does DFS projections. So those are good resources.
Okay, now I now for a newbie in betting like me and Ariel, there are some terms that I just have no clue what's going on. Like, what is a money line? What's an over-under? What's the spread? I mean, there's so many different terms. I always hear these around Super Bowl time, but this happens during regular season as well, correct?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. They're pretty simple, actually. I know that a lot of people in betting like to throw around a lot of fancy lingo to make them sound like they're really clever, the juice and the vig and all of this business. And it's really simple. A money line bet is simply a bet on who's going to win the game. So do you think the Phillies are going to win or the Nationals are going to win? Whoever you pick, you're taking them on the money line. Now, in baseball, you can also take a team on the run line. So, for instance, today, the Phillies, you had to take Phillies minus 1.5 to get the run line payout. That means they would have to win the game by 2 runs or more for you to get that payout. Or you could take the Nationals plus 1.5, and that means they have to come within 1 run in order to get paid out at that price. So that's that. As far as totals, that's just simple. Like, for instance, today, the total for the Toronto-Boston game was at 8.5. Do you think it's going to get to 9, or do you think it's going to stay 8 or under? You just take the over, you take the under. So pretty simple. That's the spread. In football, a spread is a little different. In baseball, we use run line, which is essentially a spread. But a spread in football could be anywhere from 1 point to 10 points. The Ravens would be, say, heavy favorites over a team like the Browns, right? So they might have a 10-point spread. If you take the spread, that means the Ravens just can't win the game. They have to win it by 10 or more in order to get the payout. So when you take a spread bet, it usually pays you about close to even money.
All right. So what about prop betting? What is that, and how do you pick them?
So prop betting is probably what the listeners will actually enjoy the most, because that's when you get to really dig in and focus on players. So prop is short for proposition, a player prop. Will Pete Alonso hit a home run today? Yes or no? Yes, you get paid 4-1 plus 400, right? No, you don't really make anything. You could bet no, he won't, but you won't make much profit on that. So that's a silly bet to make. But, you can take over and under hits. Will Willie Adames get a hit today? Because he actually has terrible career numbers versus Kyle Freeland. So that's actually an interesting bet. Yes or no? And you look on either side of that what the payouts are. And you decide what's the better value. So the way that I bet, you'll notice next to bets, they will have numbers, either a negative or a positive. So let's take that Willie Adames bet, for example. Willie Adames to get a hit would be minus 150 today. That means you would have to bet $150 to make a $100 profit. The sports books think that's a likely probability. They're pretty sure Willie Adames is going to get a hit today. Now, if you take the under and say, nope, I think he's going over, it will pay you plus 160. That means if you bet $100, you make a $160 profit if he doesn't get a hit tonight. So it's a better value a lot of the times to take those plus money props. And the trap that people fall into is they think that those minus bets are more likely to happen. Well, sort of, right? The sports book thinks they're more likely to happen. There's a higher implied probability. But in reality, those of us who really know baseball and dig deep, sometimes we see there's a pricing error. Okay, yeah, Willie Adames is more likely to get a hit than not, but it probably shouldn't pay me, plus 160 if he doesn't. It probably should only pay me like plus 110. So the value's on the underside. Now, the reason why we can find these values is because sports books are pressured to have such a big menu. Everybody wants to have so many bets. And specifically with baseball, it's incredibly interesting. Most of these sports books actually originate in Europe. They don't know baseball the way we know baseball. They don't know the intricacies.
That's interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting. And so you can find pricing errors, and you can look at different books, right? You can also look between DraftKings compared to Hard Rock, compared to BetMGM. You can find the errors. And what I found a lot of, for instance, this year is there's so much value on under hit props. Take Julio Rodriguez not to get a hit. You'll win that a lot. Take Eugenio Suarez not to get, you'll win that a lot. And you'll win back more than you invested. So sometimes it's not fun to bet on the under, but when you start making money, it is. I've tracked all the bets I've made since the beginning of baseball season. And I tend to only bet with plus money. Sometimes I'll take one that's like minus 110, 115. And we're up more than 38%. So with the $10,000 bankroll, we've made $3,800 profit. Now, we don't win as often, but we make more money. So I always caution people, when you look at someone's win record, it's actually not necessarily that impressive. If someone has 50 wins and 25 losses, that still doesn't mean they made any money whatsoever.
Yeah, it depends on what the plays are, right? Like you want to be plus EV, but if you're really gaining on the 10% and you're losing the 90%, you can still make money.
Exactly.
So
That's why you've got to watch the ROI. You've got to pay attention to who you're following, who you're taking advice from. And you guys can do this yourself. Check the weather. Are the winds blowing out at Camden Yards and is Charlie Morton pitching? Then probably take the over in that game and probably take the pitchers the batters on whatever team is there, right? Especially if it's a batter that happens to hit right-handed pitchers well. There's a lot of ways you can look at it. Always pick your spots. Check the weather, check the ballpark, check who's hot, check who's not. and have fun. That's the most important thing. Like, the reason we do this is so that it's more fun when you watch the game. Like, I was watching the Phillies Nationals game with bated breath because I really needed Nick Castellanos to have 2 bases tonight. And just before we got on the recording, he got his second single, and I was like, yes, cashed that one. It was fun for me. Even though my Astros aren't playing today, I was super invested in that game.
Did
Right.
you actually bet? Do you actually bet that Nick Castellanos would hit a home run the day the Pope died? Because he seems to have
I
all
did
those
not.
tragedies. A lot.
I
I know a
I
lot.
did
I know
not
a lot of
because
people were doing
everybody
that.
did. A lot of people did, and so I did not. And the sports books were onto it, and you were getting terrible value for
Yeah, I was
it.
going to say
So I
that
was like, no.
is it more about who's betting than the probability, right? Because, like, I guess the sports book, they don't really care if it's, like, the right bet. They just care to get the same kind of action from both sides and have some kind of, values in the middle so that, whatever, they're getting enough action so that who
Right.
cares who wins? They're just making it in the middle. The last thing they want to do is put out something and everyone bets one side and, oops, that wins.
And that's why it's often smart to take unders, because people don't like to bet unders. They like to bet overs, so the juice tends to go on that side. But again, with
That's
baseball,
what Cardi says also. He says bet on the unders.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
it's smart. It's smart. The other thing is, and Cardi's smart, so good. Yeah, I'm glad we agree. That makes
Sure.
me feel better.
Another big nerd, right?
Yeah, like, hey, join the nerd club. Yeah, but another thing about baseball, again, remember, is there are so many props. Sometimes they just don't know. Like, if you have a walk prop for, I don't know, Eduardo Rodriguez. Like, how many people are betting on Eduardo Rodriguez walks today? There's just so many niche things that you may be the only person that's even taking that bet. So the book isn't even really paying attention. They just throw some number out there. They just want to look like they have the bet. They don't think anyone's going to take it. So you are able to find a lot of pricing errors with player props, which is why I do like to play player props a lot, and they can be very profitable. And you get that real adrenaline rush when they hit. You really do.
And is there any arbitrage out there? Because I had a friend who used to literally, all he did for a living was just find arbitrages. And he's telling me that, yeah, there used to be, but now they're really hard to find.
Yeah, it's too hard to find.
Arbitrage, of course, means if you bet both bets, you're guaranteed to make money. But one
Yeah.
the other one way, one the other way, the spreads are offsetting, and that kind of thing.
And you can do it a little bit if you maybe are betting at different books. You can probably get creative, because there will be a big variation between like what, say, South Point Casino offers versus FanDuel. So, you can always look that way. You always want to shop around. You can get an app like BetStamp, and it will show you like where the best odds are for the bet you want to make, because it might be plus 110 at BetMGM and only plus 100 at DraftKings. So you want to make that bet at BetMGM.
All right, so thank you for that. So hope everyone got a little bit out of the betting, and maybe I'll try in the future. I'm not a big bettor. I don't know. I do the season. Obviously, I put money on the line for fantasy, but I'm just so busy. It's hard to do day to day. But you never know. I seem like the baseball type here, to put some numbers on. So
well, if you ever want to, you would be great at it. Aria.
I hope
You'd be
so.
Fantastic. You'd be so good. But like, if you ever just want to just like do it for fun, I post bets on my X account nearly every day.
Yeah, I know.
If people ever want to follow them and they're like, I just want to put one in, but I don't have time to think about it. And if you trust me or you want to try, I do have a little more risk tolerance than a lot of people, but it generally tends to work out in the long run. So you guys can always, you listeners, please feel free to follow me there. And I'm going to have some more announcements of other places you can get my content to soon.
Sounds good. Coming soon there. But so anyways, we do want to get back to a little bit of a fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
And it's been a while, so let's do a little bit of buy, sell, hold. We're going to talk about some hot players and cold players and talk whether we think it's for real, whether we're buying high, whether we're just going to hold, sell, trade, whatever we want to do with the player, very roughly speaking. So let's talk about, first of all, Pete Crow Armstrong. Of the Cubs. The Mets traded him for Javi Baez, for a half a season of, not even half, a couple months of Javi Baez. Probably not the best idea, given that he has he has 6 homers so far, 12 stolen bases, batting .275, and actually that's with a modest .314 BABIP. I mean, do you think, Jen, that Pete Crow Armstrong is for real? Are you buying high, or you're saying hold, or just, this is good as he can get, sell at the high price?
I'm saying hold. PCA it's interesting because if you drafted PCA, you drafted him for his steals, right? And you hoped that he might bat for better average than last year, and you hoped he might have some power. But right now he has 12 steals, right? I think he's the second most, tied for second most in the league. He has 6 home runs, and his batting average is pretty much exactly what his expected batting average should be according to StatCast. He's in that really dominant Cubs lineup that is just crushing the ball. He's got good players all around him. He's going to save pitches. He's batting 7th right now. He could get moved up. He's young. I'm holding him. I'm not selling him because I got him at a great price, and I'm just going to take everything I can get from the value I got.
I mean, he's right now like the number 8 or so player in fantasy, because especially with the stolen bases. I mean, in a 15-team league, he's the equivalent of a $39 player. Nobody bought him for that much. I'm actually buying high. Now, obviously, I'm not going to buy at a $39 price, but I'm assuming he's not going to, jump over a lot of the number 2 outfielders, but I might draft him as such. That many stolen bases, he's going to finish at the top. Like, who's going to have more? Who's going to have more steals at the end? Is it going to be Ellie De La Cruz or Pete Crow Armstrong? I'm going to take Armstrong, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
That's interesting, but I'm actually closer to the sell portion here. I think this is his peak. He was not expected to have this much power this quickly. He's hitting more fly balls and ground balls than he did in the past, which is a little bit concerning. You want him to hit it on the ground. You want him to get on base. He's hitting more fly balls. He's getting, it's great to do that at Wrigley Field when the wind's blowing out. That's going to be great. But you really drafted him for stolen bases. So he's a guy I think you could probably sell high right now and fill a couple holes in your roster, because I think this is the best you're going to get from him. Now, there's a caveat. You mentioned about his BABIP. He hasn't had a BABIP lower than 350 in the minors, so he's used to having a high BABIP. So what you're seeing is what you're actually getting right now, but I think he's still a little bit lucky. I think the fly balls are not going to keep going out like that. I think he has to hit the ball on the ground more and use his legs more, because you drafted him for his speed. You want him for his speed. The power is a plus. That's great. But, I mean, at this point, I think you'd be able to sell him and you can get a good haul back for him.
All right, Ruben, I'll go back to you. Alex Bregman, he's having a phenomenal start to his Red Sox career. What about him? Are you buy, sell, hold? What are you doing with Bregman?
He's a hold for me. I'm definitely going to hold on to him. I think his batting average is going to cool down. And you would think, he moved to Boston. You think it would affect his hitting in some way. He actually has a higher batting average on the road than he does at home, and he has more power on the road than he does at home, which is very interesting. We all know what Bregman's ceiling could be. He's kind of close to it or getting close to it based on his age and everything, but I think he's a guy I would hold. I don't think I would sell him yet because there aren't many other great third basemen out there. So, I mean, if you do sell him and you do trade him, who are you going to replace him with? And I think that's the problem.
Jen, what about you?
Well, I'm intimately acquainted with Alex Bregman. And
oh, yeah, Astros fan you are. Oh, yeah.
I would say you should definitely hold Alex Bregman or possibly buy him if you can, and I wouldn't be too afraid to pay the price. As you mentioned, he's been better away than at home, but the home stadium is still so great. He's going to hit a lot of doubles. He has that compact swing. It's going to play really well in Camden Yards over time. He's on a 13-game hitting streak right now because he had another hit, another RBI tonight. We bet on that RBI plus 125. So Bregman, again, he's batting third. He used to bat second. Now he's batting third for the Red Sox. He's protected, again, in a very dangerous lineup. And as you mentioned, third base is a scarce position. So I am definitely holding or buying Alex Bregman. I'm not going to sell him. He tends to get hotter as the season goes along. This is pretty much the hottest start I've ever seen Bregman have.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's better in points because it'll be more doubles in roto. Where homers matter more. That's going to cool off. He was very undervalued, I thought, going into the season. I have a few shares of him. So I think he's now above the price where he probably should end up. So I don't think he's a buy because I think that you're going to have to give up a lot to get. But he's a hold. I don't see any reason not to. I think he's going to continue, a very good pace going on. Let's go to a little bit of pitchers that are hot. Hunter Brown, wow, 1.22 ERA, backed up by a good 2.67 Sierra, 0.84 WHIP. Wondering, Jen, what you think of Hunter Brown?
I think it's legit, and I would actually put a bet on him to potentially win the AL Cy Young. I know that's very bold.
Wow. A lot of people did, by the way. A lot of people had him as a dark horse, yeah.
But here's the thing. It's not like Brown just started doing this. He's been doing this post All-Star last season. He had a 2.26 ERA. This year, he has a 50% ground ball rate, and he has a really good defense behind him. Now, will he keep a 1.22 ERA? No. He's going to regress, probably closer to 2.5. But don't you want that? He has a 6-pitch mix. He's not getting a lot of run support right now. Hopefully that will improve. I think Brown is just stellar, and if you got him, I think you got him for a good value because I think he was undervalued in drafts this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a tad lucky with stranding runners. His strand rate is at 85%, but that's like it. You know, his BABIP isn't crazy. His strikeout to minus walk ratio is at 25%. Strikeout minus walk, I should say, is at 25%, up from just 17 last year. The walk rate maybe seems a tad artificial, but the strikeout rate is legit. CSW is at 30%. I don't think he's a buy high because I don't think he's better than this, but he's a hold. I mean, this is not a guy that I think is going to turn to dust. It's not smoke and mirrors. The guy is legit. By the way, I'll ask Ruben in a second, but since we're on the Astros, what's your take on Altuve going to the outfield? Any thoughts from an Astro fan?
It's terrible. We hate it. We all hate it. But, I guess his defense was failing at second, so they had to do what they had to do. But what are you going to put? Literally, you're putting someone that is my height in left field. That's actually the hardest outfield position to play. You don't get that extra jump you can't see with right-handed batters, right? You're a step behind, and he can't reach up and go. I don't know. It is what it is. And he's been playing a little more second base lately. The nice thing is he gets you that dual eligibility. So at least there's that.
Yeah, good for fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, it's good for fantasy on that side. But, it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah. I don't get it, and the way he was botching fly balls, he was botching them like Dominguez was in the spring training. But it's not as glaring, but I mean it's left field in Houston is kind of an important area to know. You have to know that you have to play it for a long period of time to get the nooks and crannies and everything like that. And the fact that he, I don't know, in other stadiums, if people can leap over the fence and steal a home run, he's not doing that. And he and it's nothing against him. He just can't. It's not like he's on the other side in right field, Aaron Judge for the Yankees. It's it's like night and day. It's crazy. But as for Hunter Brown, his velo is up a mile per hour on almost all his pitches, which is really good. He's got a little bit of a lucky home run to fly ball rate, which I think it'll regress just a little bit. So I think he's a guy to hold. I think Hunter Brown is a guy, especially the fact that there's so many pitchers, which I mentioned in the opening of how many starting pitchers that I had that went down already, that he is a hot commodity. You have to ask an exorbitant, if you get blown away with a deal for him, fine, take it. But otherwise he's definitely a guy to hold because the waiver wire is just so barren.
I was just going to say he's also allowed just 5.84 hits per 9, which is the 7th best rate in the league. But in addition to that velo going up, I just think he's a really good pitcher, and yes, I would not sell high.
All right, we're in agreement there. All right, let's move on to Nick Pivetta. Ruven, why don't you go first? This guy is performing pretty well. 1.78 ERA, 0.82 WHIP. What's your take on Pivetta? Are you buying what he's doing?
I am selling. I want to sell him. This is not a guy who has a track record of doing this. He's been a decent pitcher. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been good, but I still remember in his days in Philly when he was just not that good. His K rate is down this year. His walk rate is down, which is good from his career marks. His BABIP is a little bit lucky, and he's actually changed his pitch selection a little bit. He's throwing more fastballs and cutters, and he's actually thrown in a sinker, which he hasn't done in about 3 years. So I do think he has a little bit of a luck on his side, and I think this is a guy you can definitely sell. And you're not going to get a lot. You may not get a lot for him, but you could probably get something decent for him.
All right, are we going 2 for 2, Jen, on Pivetta for selling?
Yes, I'm also selling. Pivetta is the opposite of Brown to me. I think he is good. I still like him. But yes, I think you can get more value now. He has unlike Brown, who has a 50% ground ball rate, he has a 50% fly ball rate. His fastball isn't fast. Batters don't chase. And he's allowing more barrels. He's been, fortunate that he gets a lot of run support because he plays in he plays for a very good team. He can get those wins, and he plays in a good home ballpark. All of those things are great. But in reality, Pivetta is more like a 4 ERA kind of pitcher for his career.
Yeah,
Is that one
ATC rest of
season?
season has him projected for 4.40 rest of the way, so I
Yeah,
agree.
that's about where I would put him. So I would sell high as well. So we agree.
3 for 3. I mean, looking at him, his K minus BB is in line with his career, which is not very special. Homer to fly ball rate, fluky low at 5%, and with that tremendous fly ball rate, the home runs are coming, I should say. BABIP 226, lucky. Strand rate 84%, lucky. Yeah, this is a classic sell. Of course, he's not bad, but if anybody in your league can bite for, you get a Nick Pivetta, yeah, you can sell right away.
But the question with this is, we're all saying sell. If you have him on your roster, when do you start not playing him? When do you start sitting him? Is it two bad starts in a row, 3 bad starts in a row? When do you stop?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, to me, if you're looking at a guy who's obviously lucky, I think you got to look at the matchups more. In deeper leagues, I think you're playing him no matter what because I think he's close to over the bar. If you're in a 15-team league, you're probably playing him. If you're in a mono league, you're playing him no matter what. If you're in like a 10 or 12-team league, I think because he's lucky, you got to look at the matchups. You can play him against crappy teams. You can play him at home more. Don't play him at the road against good teams. I think you can be selective, even though he's had a great start to the season.
I agree. And one of the things that he has going for him is he basically has an entire team of shortstops behind him. So the defense has been stellar, which is why
But that's
going to
continue,
so lucky.
right? But that's going to continue.
That's right. And so that's why you still can play him. And I would wait until he had consecutive bad starts before I got worried. Because until the defense really lets you down, I think he will regress, but it may not be terrible.
Yeah, no, right. He's still up there. He's still, again, you're playing no matter what in 15-team leagues. So, but he's not obviously one of the top pitchers in the league. All right, before we go into our cold players, we've got Ruvain's Injury Gurus trivia of the week.
So yeah, we're going to jump right into the cold players, and a couple of the cold players we're going to mention are actually relief pitchers, and I'm sure you can figure out who they are already. But the trivia question for the week is this. There are 11, when it comes to having a cold start, a lot of it has to do with luck, and we always talk about BABIP and everything like that. So the trivia for the question of the week is, there are 11 pitchers, relief pitchers, who have thrown at least 10 innings this year and have a BABIP over 385. 3 of them were drafted in the top 350 players during the draft season. Who were they?
BABIP, so relief pitchers, BABIP over 385?
And drafted within the top 350 players during draft season.
So we're talking about very unlucky relief pitchers.
Possibly. Well, we'll see. We're going to talk about them.
Any guesses, Jen? I've very little
I'm
idea.
going to guess that Jordan Romano is actually on that list.
Jordan Romano is number 10. His BABIP is close to 385, 387 right now. That's one of them. Can you guess any others? Think.
Devin Williams?
Devin Williams actually finished. He's number 11 on the list. He doesn't qualify yet because he's only. When I did these stats, he actually threw his 10th inning the night before. So he's over 380, but not over the 385 mark. But he's number 11 on this list, so he doesn't count.
Griffin Jacks. He's been pretty bad.
Yes, Griffin Jacks has the number 1 BABIP of relief pitchers who've thrown 10 innings, 484. That's crazy. I don't think it's going to hold. But there's one pitcher you guys are missing. The number 2 one.
Not our boy Edwin Diaz, right?
Thank God. Well, I don't know. He didn't qualify for that.
Not a
But
Met.
Emmanuel Clase.
Oh, Clase, really?
His BABIP is 465. Which is crazy, which is why these people, we're going to start talking about some cold pitchers. You mentioned Jordan Romano. I mean, Jordan Romano was being drafted as the possible closer for the Phillies. He hasn't looked good. His velocity is down. He's using his slider more. But the thing is, the metrics show that he has been unlucky. I mean, do you buy him? Do you sell him? Do you hold him? Jen, what do you do?
So it's a good question because even if you're buying him, I guess you're buying him in case maybe in the future he gets saves because he's not unseating their closer tomorrow. But I was reading that it seems like they discovered that he was tipping his pitches. And in the few innings he's pitched, the 2 innings he's pitched since they discovered that, if you will, he had 2 clean innings. So I think he might be a buy. He just can't be that bad. Listen to what you just said about the bad luck. If it's bad luck plus pitch tipping, then yeah. But again, in deep leagues, right? Because I don't think he's going to unseat Jose Alvarado.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a 10-team league, you're not hanging on to Romano right now, right? Because he's not even like third on the pecking order anymore, right?
Right.
But if you're in a 15-team league, is that deep enough to say, well, I got nothing to do with my slot. Let's just pick up Romano just in case he gets the saves. Is that even too shallow for now? 15?
No, I think you could still have him on your bench, and if he does start to turn things around, it is possible. Listen, the Phillies are a good team. Alvarado doesn't seem, I mean, he's a closer right now, but that doesn't mean he has a closer job the whole season. I mean, the thing with Romano, though, his velocity is down. That I mentioned that it's down all across the board. And remember, he was hurt. He had surgery last year, so he may not be fully recovered from surgery. If he was tipping his pitches, different story. But if it's a health issue that he's keeping to himself, how can you? I mean, I guess if you have him and you have a roster spot available and you don't need that roster spot for another position,
I mean,
guess you can
you
hold
got
him.
nothing better to do than keep a Phillies guy who might get some saves like 2 months from now. I don't know. To me, I think that he's just a drop, unless you're in, an NL only league. I think that you got to go that deep, to be honest.
Right.
But what about Devin Williams? That's a little bit different story. I mean, he's been god awful. 9 ERA, 2 WHIP. His K minus BB is 4%. I mean, that's lower than my softball K minus BB. That's pretty bad. I'm sorry, Mr. Devin Williams, but the Yankees traded for him. He's been a lockdown closer. This is, the back page kind of guy. I mean, I'd say that this guy's probably worth holding on to just because of the role and the Yankees' prestige. I mean, once he becomes a closer, he figures it out. I mean, he's going to get a lot of saves, right? So, 10-team league, I'm probably just holding right now still a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has no control this year. It's ridiculous. But as you mentioned, throughout his career, he's been a lockdown closer. A lot of things happen to players when they first go to New York, It can be really tough to play in New York. You guys must know that quite well. I remember from living there for so long. So many players come there and they don't do well at first. It takes them a while to acclimate, right? So I think that could be what's going on here a little bit. He's had a clean 7th and a clean 8th since they officially, removed him from the closer role, which of course they said was just temporary. I think they do intend to get him back in that role. So yes, I think you hold him. Maybe even consider buying low if you have the room and you have the guts.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. I'd hold and possibly buy because you can get him real cheap. I mean, the difference between Devin Williams and Jordan Romano is the amount of draft capital you spent on them. You're not Jordan Romano. You have no problem dropping or trading or anything like that. Devin Williams, I mean, you want to hold on. You want to do that. But listen, when he was with Milwaukee, he was a shutdown guy for 7th and 8th inning when Hader was there. So the fact that he's not doing that great right now in the 9th inning, I think right now his confidence is shot. I don't know if you guys watched the last game he pitched in at Yankee Stadium. They didn't boo him. They actually chanted that "We want Weaver," which is probably even worse than booing him. I think. I mean, that's. I mean,
tough,
you're actually
man.
asking. They're asking for the replacement.
We're picking the replacement.
We want someone else. I mean, that I think he's got to get his confidence back. I think being away from Yankee Stadium will help a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with him pitching the 7th and 8th inning because he's done it before. He can be stretched out like that, and it can be very valuable. If Weaver can pitch the 9th inning and you have Devin Williams pitch the 7th and 8th, that's a perfectly good bridge. I mean, the Yankees did that with Wetland in the late 90s. Wetland was the closer, and Mariano Rivera pitched the 7th and 8th inning. They used to do that. That is a thing. And Devin Williams has his stuff. He's been unlucky. I mentioned that. He's number 11 on BABIP. So he has been unlucky. I think he needs his confidence back. And if you can buy low for him, I don't see why not.
All right, so we'll do one more cold pitcher. Yusei Kikuchi. I do have some shares of him because he had just a great 200 strikeout year, but his velocity is down this year. It's down a tick. His swing and strike rate is just 8%. He's 34. It looks like he's definitely on the way down. His whip has always been a problem. Now it's at 1.6. I don't know. To me, Yusei Kikuchi, I'm sorry to say this, I think he's a sell. Jen, do you agree?
yeah, if you can sell him, I'm not sure if anybody's buying him because he
Yeah.
hasn't done much to impress anyone. I agree. I think Kikuchi will end up having a 4.5 ERA. He'll have one or two good games, but I do not think it was smart for him to go to the Angels. He had a stellar second half last year because he got into Houston and
Well,
they
he got
worked
paid.
with him.
He got paid by the
He
Angels.
got paid. He did get paid. It's true, but his career is about to be, in my opinion, he's done the way he looks. I just don't think it's good.
Are you dropping him though?
No, you can't drop him yet. You can't drop him
10
yet.
team leagues? Is that too shallow to drop him?
Oh no, I would drop him at 10 team. Absolutely gone,
Right.
cut,
Okay.
out.
Well, the thing is,
I'm
he's
sorry, I
always-
forget I play in too many 15 team leagues.
But the thing is, he's known for his high K rate. He doesn't even have that. If he had a
doesn't have
high
that.
ERA and high WHIP, you get to the strikeouts, but he's not even doing that. So what's his value? But if you compare this season to what he did the first season he was in Toronto, they're very eerily similar. Maybe it's a change of venue he has to get used to a little bit. But when he went to Toronto, if you look at his ERA, his WHIP, home runs for fly ball, everything, they're mirror images from this ERA to begin with. So I think you probably can drop him because I don't think it's going to change this year. I think what you're seeing is what you're getting this year, and you may be able to buy low next year and get him for get him in the snake draft and maybe have a good pitcher next year, something like that.
All right, Ruvain, right back to you. Lane Thomas, I know he's got a wrist injury, but he wasn't performing pretty well before. Is he a guy that you're holding? I mean, if in IL, obviously you're going to put him on there, but if you're in like an NFBC format, 15-team league, are you even holding Lane Thomas, or is he a drop for you?
Well, if you listen to the Open, I had him in GDD in the 12 team, and I dropped him already. I dropped him 2 weeks ago. That's how much I'm selling him. He's lost his starting job. He's hitting more home runs to fly ball, more fly balls than ground balls. He looks like the same player he did at the end of last year, which was not good. I had him on my team last year also. Last year in the beginning of the year, he was great, but when he went to Cleveland, he just wasn't the same player. I think Cleveland's mentality of what type of player he is different than what the Nationals had, and I think they're trying to get him to hit more for more power when that's not his value. They were batting him third, fourth in the lineup. That's not him. He's a speed guy. He's a guy who gets on base. He's a leadoff. He's a top 1-2 guy or a 7-8-9 guy. Get on base and steal bases. And the fact now he's hurt. I mean, I mentioned in the 12 team, I dropped him 2 weeks ago. So I think he's a definite sell at this point.
Jen, you agree?
Totally agree. Strikes out too much. He can't bat. They're not using him the right way. He doesn't really have a role in Cleveland. He's done.
All right, Colt Keith. I was high on him before the season started. Also gave you a potential first base, second base eligibility. I projected him for 260, 15 homers. Right now he's hitting a $181, one homer, which by the way was yesterday, just 5 RBIs. He is walking though, so he's getting on base at a decent clip, and he does have a low BABIP. Is this just unluckiness at the start of the season? Does he have more to come, Colt Keith? What are you doing? Are you dropping or holding? Certainly not buying high. You don't have to.
I'm not holding him. They're
Okay.
using him as a DH. He has no power. He doesn't have any speed anymore. It doesn't look like he does walk a lot. He has, so that helps in points leagues, but his exit velocity is in the bottom 3% of the league. I mean, what's he really doing for you? I'm not interested.
Yeah, so in Roto, it's probably a no, unless you're in like an OBP type league, then maybe there's
Right.
something.
Well,
and
an
one-
OBP AL only maybe because Trey Sweeney is not doing any better either. So the fact that he still may get back to second base job because nobody's hitting it. Nobody's hitting there. I mean, Gleyber Torres. If they didn't have Gleyber Torres, that second base in Detroit would be a black hole right now. I mean, that's how bad it is. So I think he's definitely a sell guy. And if you see him on the waiver wire, are you picking him up? I don't even think so.
No, I'm not done with him. I mean, it's hard to just say. I mean, I guess you can drop if nobody else wants him, right? Because your opportunity cost is, well, I'll just pick him up again. But I'm not done with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some value in the middle of the year and he starts hitting a little bit. I'm not totally resigned for him, but practically, yeah. Unless you're, I think in an AL only league you're still playing him though. But otherwise, yeah. Mixed, you're probably not. We'll do one more player. A guy I was pretty high on before the season started. My projections had him for like 27 homers. Andrew Vaughn. He's batting a $162, 3 homers. His barrel rate is 16%, which is actually pretty good. His homer to fly ball rate is an unlucky 8%. So actually, he might actually be showing power. His strikeout rate though is rising, so I don't even think he's a 250 hitter. I mean, Andrew Vaughn, maybe he can get to 20, 25 homers. He's going to have a rough batting average. I think in 10 and 12 team leagues, I think I'm saying goodbye. But in 15 team leagues, I think I'm actually holding because I think he could get some power, which is a little bit scarce these days. Jen, what's your feeling on Andrew Vaughn?
I agree. I think you still hold him in 15 leagues. I think he's still going to hit, like 20 home runs. I think is still in the cards. He still hits the ball really hard. His launch angle's a little bit lower this year, but he has a 185 BABIP. Like that's got to regress positively. So his strikeout, it's gonna come back. You're gonna get what you were expecting. You were never expecting a 280 batting average from Vaughn. So I think you could still get the power. Obviously, you're not starting him right now, but I do think he's going to get hot. And you know how these home run hitters are. They hit them in bunches. And I have a feeling there's going to be a period where David Vaughn starts hitting a bunch of home runs. And then he'll probably, stink again. You have to put him to the bench. But in a 15-teamer, I'm still holding.
Yeah, Ruvain, you agree?
I'm buying him 100%. I'm
Oh.
buying him. Look at his numbers. You mentioned the high hard hit rate. He has the highest hard hit rate of his career this year. He has the highest barrel rate of his career this year. You can buy him really cheap now. I'm sure if you offer just a middling like a good reliever or middling hitter, you may be able to get him for really cheap. And he fills the first base hole if you have any players who are hurt or anything like that. I think he's going to have a much better next couple of months, especially when the weather gets warmer. I've heard a couple players already say that they've been getting hurt and that their power and their hitting is not the way it is because of the cold weather. He's been playing in Chicago. He's playing in all these cold places. I think when the weather turns, you may actually be flying out because if he's able to change, his ground ball rate is a little bit up, but if he gets more fly balls with that hard hit rate that he has and the barrel rate, I mean, I don't see why this isn't a buy.
All right, let's move on to our waiver wire section, and maybe we'll talk about one or two players each that we think we want to pick up this week. Jen, who's on the menu for you?
Well, I think we got to look at Andy Pajes. I know it could be streaky, but man, he's slashing 481, 556, 796 across the past 2 weeks. He has 35 bases across his last 11 games, 4 home runs. If you need an outfielder, he's still on the waiver wire, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's only going to last for a little while, but ride the hot streak.
Yeah.
I think you got to look at Ginkel and Shelby Miller potentially. Look how Shelby Miller obviously closed the game today. Ginkel did the 8th, but they got to find a solution.
Unfortunately, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But they got to find a solution in Arizona. So I think those are guys. And then Jeff McNeil is another one that I'm also interested in at second base and outfield.
That was my first pick here. I have Jeff McNeil. He's been good so far, and he's going to get the playing time. He's actually looking a lot like himself. And he's going to get the second outfield eligibility. He's walking. He's striking out less. And finally, the Mets might have the solution because that whole Beatty-Acuna, Beatty wasn't really doing it. Acuna is great, but not really running away with it. I mean, if you can add Jeff McNeil and he's going to hit 300, which he's done multiple times, and he's healthy, great for the Mets, great for your fantasy squad. Ruve?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. I was thinking about him, but I thought one of you were gonna mention him, so I didn't mention him. But I want to mention Alex Verdugo. He's actually back in the majors. He's played 10 games. He's hit safely in 8 of them. Now it's sort of an empty everything. He has no stolen bases and no home runs yet. He is a stopgap until Acuna comes back. But he's only 13% owned. So if you want to get someone on the cheap for a short term, he's the guy to get. Another guy, Brooks Lee from Minnesota. He's eligible at third and short. Only owned in 21% of CBS leagues right now. He recently was batting over 360. He's got a couple home runs. He's probably going to play his way into the DH role once Royce Lewis gets back. So he may get a lot of playing time. He was good until he got hurt, but he got healthy and now he's back and he seems to be hitting pretty well. And another guy, I was looking at closers and stuff like that, and on the waiver wire. Why is Emilio Pagan only 58% owned in CBS? I mean, Alexei Diaz was just sent down to the minors. He doesn't have a job. Emilio Pagan is pitching like it's 2019 when he had 20 saves with the Rays. He's done this before. He's been a pretty decent pitcher, and look what he's done. He's got a .49, 2.51 with 8 saves already. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I know the Reds. You're not going to get that many saves from him. You may get. I mean, you'll get a good bunch, but he's also a guy that you want to get now and early because he's a guy. If the Reds are not in it, he will be traded, and he's building up his trade value.
I like Will Vest also. I mean, he's under-owned, and the Tigers are happen to be a good team. Should have some good save opportunities, and he's been getting a few of them. So I think Will Vest is another good one. And I'll throw in one hitter, sticking with the Tigers. Javi Baez. You know, he's only 6% owned on CBS. I bought him in a bunch of draft and hold type leagues. He's got third base, outfield, shortstop eligibility. His metrics, his underlying component metrics, are actually in line with his career average. He's like essentially free right now. He's batting almost 300 on the year. Yes, it's a 400 BABIP, but still, that's a lot better than he's been done in the past. He got a homer, a stolen base. I don't know. He might have something, Javi Baez. Just take a look at him in pretty deep leagues. You might be interested in him. Pitcher preview. Jen, who's a pitcher that you might want to pick up this week? Maybe he's got a good start, 2-start matchup, or future, whatever.
Well, I've got a few ideas. First off, you can call me a homer here, guys, but Lance McCullers will be starting this weekend and versus the Chicago White Sox. So he's probably available, and I think he could be worth potentially grabbing in case he's any good.
How many innings will McCullers pitch, though? That's the only thing I worry
5.
about that. You think he'll go 5?
I think he'll go 5.
Yeah,
I do. I think he'll go 5. It's been a while, and he's been rehabbing, so I would give him 5. So I think he would qualify for the win. But, if you want to just watch, but you might want to grab him and watch him on your bench rather than let someone else grab him and start him. So I like him. I like Colin Ray potentially. And then, this is going to sound a little crazy, guys, but Lucas Giolito has 2 starts this week, one of which is versus Texas, who are just abysmal right now offensively, and the other is versus Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium, where there doesn't seem to be a lot of runs scored. That stadium's so big, so the Royals and the Rangers are 2 of the lowest scoring teams this year. So Giolito, he was pretty good in his first outing. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's only like 24% rostered. If you want to do a 2-start pitcher, both Lucas Giolito and also Andrew Abbott this week are interesting to me, both of whom have 2 starts.
Yeah, I like that. Abbott has had a pretty good start to the season. I know we picked him up, Ruvain, in the league the other week. Ruvain, what about you? What's another starter that you're interested in?
Well, I was going to mention Giolito only because he's very intriguing because of his possible strikeouts, so I'm very intrigued about that. But I wanted to talk about J.P. Sears. I don't think he's being talked about enough. He's 58% owned in CBS, but people are scared of getting him probably because he's on the Athletics. And don't let that scare you away. He's pitched 33 2/3 innings already. His ERA is 2.94, a 107 WHIP. He's got 6 walks in 33 innings with 30 strikeouts. I mean, his next start is not that great, which is why I may even get him for even cheaper if he's available, because he's playing at home against the Yankees. So I don't think many people are going to go run to get him and say, oh, look, let's pick him up playing against the Yankees in the minor league ballpark. No, that's not the best idea, but he's 2-start this week. He already had 1 great start. He had a quality start, and he's pitching again on Sunday. I think he's a guy that you can think about picking up and using long-term, and especially he'd probably be a great matchup play.
I like that.
All right, so I'll do a couple. Shane Smith of the White Sox. I don't like picking up White Sox pitchers, but he actually looks pretty good. I mean, there was a good White Sox pitcher last year, Garrett Crochet, and he was the reliever turned starter, and he turned out pretty good. Smith is doing great. 2.23 ERA, 108 WHIP. Sierra is showing he's a little bit lucky, but he's got at Kansas City and at home versus Miami. Not a bad 2-start week. Might be worth doing. He'll get you some strikeouts. He's got a great swinging strike rate. I think he's actually got a lot of strikeout upside, and he is available in leagues. I'll give 2 more. Michael Wacha versus the White Sox. Pick anybody versus the White Sox, right? And then actually 2-start the following week, so that's interesting. And Bryce Elder, he's had some good starts in the past. I like his next 2 outings, Pittsburgh this week and then Washington next week. This is a low-end guy. This is deeper leagues, but that's usable for streaming in those 2 weeks. So, Bryce Elder. All right, Ruvain. I know we've been away for a while, so I'm sure you've got a bunch of injury updates. What say you?
I do, but I'm going to try to keep it on the positive side here. I'll try. Luke Rayleigh has an injured oblique, actually. They called it a grade 1 plus. I've never heard that before. It probably means it's a grade 2, which means he's probably going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So look for anyone on the roster who can fill him because he goes all over the place. Logan Gilbert, he's going to be out for a while. He's got a flexor strain, grade 1. They said, thank goodness it's only a grade 1, but they're still shutting him down for 10 to 14 days. So I don't know. There's no timetable for him to come back, and that's a pretty big hit for the people who drafted him where they drafted him. Tyler Glass now on the IL with a shoulder issue. His MRI came back clean, but there's still no timeline for return. I'm telling you, these pitchers, 1 out of 2 of these pitchers, when they get you draft, they tend to get hurt. But I want to try to be a little bit positive. So this time, instead of saying any more injury guys, I'm going to name the guys who are going to be coming back within the next 5 to 7 days. Ready for this? Kettle Marte from a hamstring, Jackson Merrill from a hamstring, Tyler Stevenson from an oblique, Royce Lewis from a hamstring, Connor Wong with a thumb fracture, Ivan Herrera from a knee injury, Brandon Marsh from hamstring, Brandon Woodruff from shoulder surgery, Ranger Suarez, he's starting on Sunday, and you mentioned Lance McCullers. Those are all guys that are coming back. So if you have some of those guys, if they're available, for some reason someone dropped Brandon Marsh, and he's been hitting home runs on his rehab assignment. So if you want to pick him up, I know you, Aria, we picked him up in one of the leagues. We were stashing him. We've been stashing Ranger Suarez for a while. He's been pitching well in the minors. And one player that people have been asking me about is Christopher Sanchez. What's going on with him? He left the Mets game after 2 innings with a forearm issue, and he comes back and pitches 5 innings. What do you do with him? I think you just have to keep running him out there. You just have to watch his velocity.
Him this week because I just didn't know.
Well, that's the whole point. No one knows. So I think because of where people drafted him, and just play it by the matchups. Don't expect too much out of him. But I wouldn't give up on him yet. He's not a guy you should drop. If you're thinking about a guy to drop, I'm probably. You pay a lot of money for Logan Gilbert, but a grade 1 flexor strain shut down for 2 weeks. A top guy like that, I think the Mariners are going to be very, very careful with him. So he may be out longer than expected. But a guy like Woodruff, who's coming back from shoulder surgery, he's done all his rehab starts. He's been looking decent. He may not be the same pitcher, but you will get a serviceable pitcher.
This is really good advice. I love that where you just rattled off guys coming back because, to be honest, for 15-team leagues or whatever, those are guys on the waiver wire that you pick up a little bit early and, this weekend maybe they come back next week, but you grab them first before they're out there. Great fantasy advice. So I love it. I have Brandon Marsh like almost everywhere. He's going to be good. He was pretty bad before, so...
There's only one place to go, and that's up. So
there you go. All right, well, this was absolutely a fantastic show. Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Why don't you just tell us where we can listen to you and read you and all things Jennifer Piacenti?
Yes, guys, please follow me over on X or Instagram at Jen Piacenti. It's Jen with 1 N and Piacenti with an I at the end, not an E. I get a lot of misspellings on that one. But yeah, I will be posting some more information soon about where some more of my content is going to be. You can also occasionally hear me on SiriusXM in the meantime, and occasionally catch an article at Sports Illustrated where I still write from time to time.
Amazing. By the way, do you ever do shows with Ronas still?
No, we haven't done one in so long, and I just love doing shows with Adam Ronas. We go way back. I don't know if Ronas has ever told you the story about how I got us seats behind home plate at Citi Field, but that's one of his favorite stories.
He has not told us that story. Do tell.
Yeah, it was when I lived in New York. I played in this high-stakes fantasy baseball league with a lot of hedge fund guys. And through that, I ended up meeting people, and I ended up literally, this is the funniest story, walking dogs for Metallica's band manager, who's a huge Mets fan. And he had the best seats, but he constantly wasn't able to use them, and he would give them to me. So I thought, I'm going to invite Adam and give him the thrill of his life. And he was just over the moon. We had so much fun. It was a blast. They were great seats. It was a great game. I love that stadium. Absolutely love Citi Field. Such a good stadium.
Oh, and I don't know if you've been back since, but the last two years where they've changed the lights there and the scoreboard, oh my God, the experience at Citi Field is amazing. Got even better, by the way.
Oh, wow.
By the way, with Ronas, he also sometimes plays on my softball team, so I get to see him occasionally. Great guy, Ronas. All right, well, that's the end of the show. Thank you again, Jen. Ruben, why don't you tell us what's doing with you?
Well, you can catch me on Twitter X at MLB Injury Guru, where I tweet out injury updates as they come. I also have a weekly article on Rotoballer, which actually comes out now on Thursdays, so you can catch that, read everything that you heard here on the podcast, and much more.
All right, I'm Ariel Cohen. You can read my work at Fangraphs, at Rotoballer. ATC projections, I know people are asking. The rest of season ATC projections are running daily on Fangraphs. The playing time comes from Fangraphs depth charts. The rates are ATC. It's still preseason rates, but it's going to switch over to rest of season rates in about a week, and they'll be updated every 3 to 4 weeks. So stay tuned for that on Fangraphs. Again, second week in May or so, it'll switch over. You get new rates update, but you can get rest of season projections all the time. All right. Once again, thank you so much to Jen Piacenti for coming on the show, and from all of us here at Beat the Shift. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Shift podcast presented by Fangraphs. Follow us on Twitter at beat_shift_pod.